Hello, everybody. It's after the final roll for the Wild Beyond the Witchlight campaign. This is Tabletop Bob. Welcome to the channel. My name is Bob. I will not be your dungeon master for tonight. We have no game. It's the campaign's over, everybody. We did it. If you would like to not watch this and go back and watch the finale, that might be a good idea if you haven't seen it yet. If you're new to the campaign and you're like, what is this? Let me check this out. Well, we finished. We finished last week, and it was an epic finale and about a year and 2 months of play, maybe a little less than a year and a month, year and a month and a half, something like that. Started October last year, and we finished on November 30th. So it's really it's been a special ride, a special journey here on Wild Beyond the Witchlight, and I just am so happy to bring back everybody for one last little chat. This type of discussion, conversation episode where we just go over a lot of things that happen in the campaign and we get some resolution and you all get to ask some questions. If you have any questions, leave them in the chat or comments down below once this video is completely posted on YouTube, and I'll try to get back to them. I think a lot of people watch live plays, especially 5e adventure modules, because they want to see something played through. They want to see how it was kind of run, somebody's version of it, because they might be running it. They might be the DM of their own campaign. And so I love the idea of helping people out. And if you have questions for us, please feel free to let us know. We've got, of course, Mike, Dasha, Christian, and Randall back. Everyone, we did it. We made it through.
I can't believe that.
Arguably, Mike made it through double because, I mean, both of his characters ended up being alive at the end.
That's true. Yes.
Spoilers alert.
We already said spoilers. It's done.
For the thing that we're recapping.
It's already done. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know what? I think we may be able to start there. I want this discussion to have some sort of a flow to it. I want to talk a little bit about the finale, and I want to talk about, where our characters ended up, because all of them had their own arcs. They all kind of finished their story, so to speak. I mean, obviously, going on after this, if characters were to continue, I'm sure that they could continue to get into some hijinks and develop their characters. But for this portion, the Wild Beyond the Witchlight, things did kind of wrap up pretty nicely. Let's talk about the finale. We'll start right there. First off, I just got to say that finale was, I mean, we really, if you think about it, not too many things happened in the finale, but it felt like a lot of things happened in the finale because there was so many like role-playing scenarios that kind of led to that final battle. So let's start there. The games ended basically with you freeing Zybilna, who we ended up finding was Tasha from Tasha's Cauldron, Tasha's Hideous Laughter. And once that happened, once you freed Tasha from her time stasis, everything was restored, basically. She's like, at this point in the storyline, she's like almost like a demigod. She kind of can do whatever she wants. And I think having her be this central figure, but not 100% known, was kind of cool. And I think, Mike, you found it out. I'm not found it out, I should say, but in the finale, you were certain that Amador during that battle had to say Natasha. What led you to believe that? What was the just you knew Natasha is her name from D&D lore, or?
Yeah, basically, it's a little meta. I don't know if my character would have known, but I, as myself, do know.
Right. Yeah. And there's a lot of things with the naming portion, right? I think there was basically, for those of you who don't remember, the way to get people free from their time stasis at the palace is to use a unicorn horn and state their true name. All this magic comes from her cauldron. That's basically the spell component thing that she needed to use to do these things. And the witches basically used her magic against her. While she was unexpecting, the witches, along with the League of Malevolence, basically froze her in time. And therefore, everything in the palace froze. There were just a couple of things that did not freeze, like the library, which has like this special protection against it, as well as the outer courtyard area. Anyone that came to the castle afterwards, they saw all the floating things stuck in the air, but anything that came to the courtyard afterwards was fine, right? Or to the palace, for that matter, really was fine. And so once you were able to clear Zybilna, the game kind of basically ended. What are your thoughts of the finale, everyone? We can go around. Anybody have any hot takes? Christian?
I don't know if I have a hot take, but I mean, I really liked how everyone was able to come back. We had all our sort of special guests. It kind of made it feel like a bigger battle to me type of thing. Um, like event like Endgame, when all the characters came back and it kind of felt like one of those moments, which I thought was cool. It kind of changed how I approached the whole fight, having these extra characters there.
It was fun to
Yeah,
bring back the guys, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it added to our confidence going into the final battle because it was the first couple of hags we encountered. I think we were very demoralized after those battles because we first lost Boppy to the first hag. The second one just like barely got out alive. I think almost lost Quentin. And we got a little bit of confidence back from fighting the third hag, but knowing that we'd be going into this final battle when those NPCs showed up was really a confidence boost to our characters.
Yeah, you had a little army with you, right? Yeah. Randall, Mike?
Yeah, I guess I think that really crossed my mind was when we made the right decision going back and getting the owl, because I'm pretty sure we would have been dead without the owl. That thing's the Jabberwock's aura is just ridiculous.
Yeah, so actually the Jabberwock is nasty, and on paper it's very hard to determine how difficult something's going to be, because it doesn't hit too hard, but it's the babble. It does not. It's relentless. It's like 18 DC charisma check, and how many people have great charisma checks? I mean, just a few characters. Quentin probably.
I was
Really,
the only one with proficiency, I believe.
yeah. So, yeah, that's a very challenging combat. Now, of course, I think the way that the game is laid out, the the ballroom is really close to the library. Like I didn't reveal the entire map to you all, but if you just walked like, I don't know, the equivalent of like two more rooms, and on the right, the ballroom is past that spa. The spa is like almost visible if you were to go continue heading down that hallway. Joey led you the other way, and I did not tell Joey to do that. In fact, there's a lot of things that I told Joey not to do, and he just kind of did whatever he wanted. So he led you that way. I just told him to go back to your room, whichever way you want. The Jabberwock was that way. I thought that maybe taking you that way and sneaking you around the Jabberwock might be an interesting way for you to scope it out. But I understood also if you were all like, no, he wants to go this way, he's scared of it, he would take you the opposite way through the garden. So it was fine. It ended up being a group decision basically. But I thought that maybe if you were to fight the Jabberwock on its own, kill it, and then see that there's a cauldron there, see Zybilna, but not know what to do, and still have to explore the castle a bit to figure it out. That was what I thought was going to happen when we first entered the castle, but it went a different direction, and so the Jabberwock was still there. But you're right, Mike, that was a huge getting Bloodybeak, because even the artwork is basically suggests that that's the thing to do. One thing else I'll talk about in length a bit more is the idea that this campaign was suggested to be run without combat, or that it could be done without combat. And every single encounter, even the Jabberwock, freeing Bloodybeak clears the Jabberwock without you having to fight. So you found the owl upon your own accord. You let it out, and I think it did, like you're right, save the day a bit. What about you, Randall? Takeaways from the finale?
The finale, I definitely really. I mean, I'm a big fan of like the wrap up, or not the wrap up, but like the like kind of coming back from like the conflict to the stories that have been going throughout. So weirdly, like I am actually a huge fan of D&D combat, but my favorite part was actually the post combat wrap. So I really, really liked that, because also we got some things that I wasn't sure if were gonna happen, of like resolving the whole Boppy storyline, resolving the hags, well, somewhat resolving the hags, and like kind of getting a little not what is it digestif for everybody's character.
Yeah, a little bow for each person.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I that was my favorite aspect of it for sure.
There is, I mean, in the book, there's like 3 pages dedicated to just that. Like literally, it's like, if this happens, then Zabilna will say this. If this happens, Zabilna does this, and it continues on and on and on. The only thing I say is confusing is, you know, your own individual storylines. Like, the book doesn't account for, you know, Dasha and her brother. It doesn't include you losing your voice or your ability to tell a secret or whatever it is, right? It doesn't really go over those things. So it says that she's able to just provide you a wish of whatever your heart desires. And so for each of you, it was going to be naturally different. And so I had to kind of like figure it out. And I realized, did I give Dasha 2 wishes? I did, didn't I? I think I had you bring your, I forget what it was. I think I gave somebody 2 wishes. I forget.
I think I brought Boppy back. I don't remember. I think she offered to give Siggy her childhood back, but Siggy was like, no.
Yeah.
I later saw someone, I don't know if it was our Zoom chat or our Roll20 chat, but someone was like, oh, don't ask her to send you back in time. Just have her make you stay 16 until Rowan catches up. And in hindsight, I'm like, I totally should have done that. So in my brain, I retconned that moment, and Siggy's going to stay 16 till Rowan catches up, and then they're going to grow up together. So that's...
Wow. Official. Canon.
Oh, good.
In my brain, that's the canon.
Oh, good. Quentin gets to raise a permanent 16-year-old.
Yes. Have fun with that for 8 years.
Gets to raise a 16-year-old for 8 years while raising an 8-year-old going through puberty.
And how old is Quentin's daughter?
Quentin's daughter is 5.
That'll be a fun combination for him.
Would be just a little bit behind Rowan.
Probably more mature than Rowan. Man, I mean, 16,
possibly
16-year-old and a 13-year-old. Oof. That's tough. So let's touch on the character kind of conclusions here. Why don't we start? We'll start and end with Mike, because Mike, we started with you. You were the first character actually introduced on the channel. Let's talk about Boppy first. I gotta say, there have been a lot of player character deaths on my channel in the last 2 years. And in fact, I think in the chat right now, they're talking about all the characters I've killed. But your death, Boppy, was probably the one that I felt gutted afterwards, because Boppy was so cool and he was so fun to have around. I mean, his personality was just intoxicating, right? You loved listening to Boppy comment on the world. And he left, and it was so sad. But we got him back in the end. How did that make you feel?
I mean, it was cool to see Boppy come back. I mean, I think I enjoyed playing Boppy more than I played Oscar. So it was maybe a little bit of steam left out after, like, you know, losing a character I was really enjoying. But I mean, it was neat seeing him come back, I suppose. I know the party was trying to see if there's a way to get it back earlier, so that there was like still time to, like, you know, fight with them in the group and stuff like that. But you know, it's a nice happy ending for a character that's a depressive alcoholic. So
I just want to say I had 3 different bardic inspirations specifically written for Bobby.
for the last combat, or just like in general?
No, just in general. I had written them before Bobby died.
Do you have one?
I
Can
wrote
you
them
share
before
one?
Bobby died, and I was like, all right, well, I can't use these
The world
anymore.
needs to know. Can you share one?
Yeah, I could share one.
Pull that up, and we'll come back to it in a second.
Yeah.
Boppy and Lemon had their moment where they reunited. I think that was touching, and Oscar finally got to go home, wherever home is for him. Did we end up deciding where his home is?
you picked a place. I honestly don't even remember what it was.
I tell you what, though, I did love Oscar and Charles. I think it was fun to have someone who didn't know the group from the beginning, so it was like learning who the people were. and that was fun to see. Almost like to use an analogy, Christians, like the Avengers, when you have someone come in who was, like Ant-Man coming in for the first time. It was interesting to see him react and relate to the people that were already established. I like that. Randall, you have it?
I do. So it wasn't 3, it was 2 different ones. One is actually quite short, probably the shortest one I wrote, but so one is, my boppy's back and he's gonna fucking kill you. Hey my boppy's back. So that was one of them.
Great. Love it.
Now I can mark that one off in my massive document. I have 8 pages of fucking bardic inspirations.
Wow. Love
Yeah. I ended up using most of them. I have one that I specifically wrote for when Sir Talavar was gonna come in, which I mean, fuck that guy, am I right?
Yes.
He just dipped. That was a summer lovin' pun. With using the summer courtin, because
Summer courtin'.
But yeah, I ended up getting through most of them, but I still had, I think, like 10 that I didn't end up using.
So, Sir Talavar, I have to pause for a second just because there were a couple things about this book that really confused me in some cases. The book was wild, right? Obviously, hence the name Wild Beyond the Witchlight. But sometimes they did some things in here that I didn't really understand. Sir Talavar is supposed to, and I don't think I played it too differently. I think everything was supposed to be done the way it was back in the what is it, Hither, when you met him. He's supposed to go to get help. He's supposed to like fly away and go to the summer court. But when you get to the Palace of Heart's Desire, he left a package for you. And I don't know how it's possible that he would have come back, left a package, but then still left again and not been here for the finale. So I scoured this area here, but he leaves a package for you and he tells you something cryptic about getting into the here it is. That's it. He leaves you a chime of opening, and the note attached to it is in Draconic, and it reads, "Many thanks. May fortune smile on you. Yours, Sir Talavar." So I don't know. I really, maybe my reading comprehension of this whole thing was off, but I got the impression that he leaves, he doesn't come back, but now there's a package here for you. I don't know. So if somebody knows, if somebody ran this, please put this down in the comments because I really wanted to know. But anyway, Sir Talavar, F that guy, right?
Yeah, what a dick.
Randall, the entire game started with you, the story-wise. You were at the House of Madrick the Warlock. We were just talking about him off chat. Madrick, we didn't really tie that up, but I think it's inferred that you restored balance to Prismeer. But you were you were the person who was quested with going to free Zybilna. So how did that shape Quentin's mission, his drive?
Well, it was interesting. I mean, I think that at the beginning none of us really had an idea like of what we were supposed to do. It was just like some goofy tall skinny guy and some grumpy short fat guy pushed us through a mirror and was like, don't fuck it up. So like we really didn't, and then we ended up on a bridge that was broken, and so we're like all right, well, it feels like we already fucked it up. So I feel like we it's definitely, I think, designed to, you don't know exactly where to go in the beginning, because we were wandering for a bit, which I think is pretty normal for like a D&D campaign. You kind of have to find your footing. But I guess it was different. It was a little different for me because for a little while, I was the only one who knew Zybilna. Like I knew Zybilna was the person, and I had a little bit of information there, and had, I guess, a more clear goal, which becomes more interesting as the story went on, because Quentin, as everyone else's goal became more clear, Quentin's goal became much less clear.
Totally.
because he stopped caring about freeing Zybilna and was just like, I'm going to drown Endolin in her own blood. Um, and yeah, so I mean, it was an interesting dynamic, I think, to like story arc wise, to start off more knowledgeable than like where, I mean, not where we ended, but like where we were towards the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, your character was the one, because everybody gets a hook at the beginning, right? So
Yeah.
Boppy was a carnival hand, makes sense to why he's at the carnival. Your character was given the quest to free, well, to find out what was happening to Zybilna, because his connection was severed. So he hired you. You were a courtier from the summer court, so, or from the Sealy, yeah, the summer court, right?
Summer.
Yeah, so you were headed to the carnival because that's the way you get there. For the rest of you all, you had more personal reasons for maybe continuing into Prismere, and that we'll talk about. But I think Quentin's character arc was great. I think, like you said, the started off with the mission, but that mission quickly took a backseat to the personal relationships that he formed, and going towards the ending, really just trying to get revenge, save as many people as he possibly can. Would you say?
Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely say that. I mean, I think that as many people as he possibly can is definitely a little loaded because he was definitely biased. And I think that at a certain point it became very clear to me of like thinking about this character of like I'm playing a character who would sacrifice pretty much anyone in front of him to save that goblin girl.
Yeah, Thenia.
And like yes. And also kind of the same for like Siggy, because like they spent so much time together of like, and was like he was missing his daughter, and was like also kind of thinking, especially after Skabatha, of like I may never see my daughter again, and so like making sure that Siggy was safe.
Man, I'm really glad I threw in that random encounter with the goblin.
Yeah, me too.
No, actually, I don't like the random encounters in a lot of these 5e modules. I feel like some of them are meaningless, and some of them, just like filler, time filler. But all the ones that I allowed myself to kind of pick, I think they had something in there that would either drive the story or add to the world that's around it. And that goblin definitely was going to be a sympathetic type of encounter where you now grow hatred towards Endolin. It just ended up being that your character took it so personally, because you almost murdered her.
Yeah, I mean you gave me a 5-year-old goblin and then made me remove about 80% of her life, and my daughter happened to be the exact same age as her. So yeah, it was a little. I felt a little called out.
Good.
But yeah, I mean it was weird because in Skabatha, after the Skabatha fight, I remember talking to you offline of like, because I was looking, we had like leveled up, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I was
the
just looking
darker
at stuff
tone.
yeah, and I was like, I didn't really know what to do with my level up because it was level 4, and I was like, I kind of like I don't need an ability score improvement. Like I only really need to get like a single point. So I was like looking at like half ability scores, and the one that I liked was Shadow Touch, but I was like thinking like, okay, he did just almost die. Like maybe he has this like actual like, and I think I told you that there was like now like where he had gotten his like near fatal wound, there was like a dark spot that was remaining, and it just so happened that after that we ended up having a much darker tone as well, and so it kind of coincided well.
Yeah. We'll talk about the tone too, because that definitely does switch throughout the game. It kind of transitions to a bit more dark. Let's go to Dasha next, because Dasha, you were a character who had maybe I mean, I don't want to say the most drive, but your character arc was the most clear, right? Like you were going to rescue your brother. When you found out that there's a way to get in to where he could have been taken, you were all in. And that was and I had known that I was going to string you a little bit along. Like he might started in thither, excuse me, and then he was pushed onto Jan, pushed onto the pal, so it would just keep driving you to go there. But what were your thoughts when you would find clues about your brother?
I mean, for as a player, I knew that we're probably not going to find him till the end because that would be too easy to find him in our first destination in the Feywild. But as Siggy, I think it was a mixture of like excitement and then frustration, excitement and then more frustration when she continued not finding him.
Mhm.
And as everyone knows, Siggy is 16, but with the mind of like maybe like a 12-year-old. So I think 12-year-olds
immature.
like, yeah, they like instant gratification, and Siggy did not get any instant gratification in terms of her specific quest to find her brother. So I think that was hard for her as a character, and I think she needed to have those stronger, older, like more mature characters around her, like Quentin, like Oscar. I don't know about Boomy. Boomy just kind of enabled her candy habit a lot. They enabled each other, but still having those people there to help her. Like, okay, we're gonna move on to the next place. We're gonna find your brother. That was helpful for her as a character.
I think you're absolutely right. The people in the group kind of rallied around your cause, and they wanted to get Rowan back too.
Yeah.
And just to clarify something, because in the chat, Stefano said, weird that I didn't introduce you first. You know, I went back and I scoured the footage for that recap episode, which I'll, if I can remember to do this like a real YouTuber, in the corner here, I'll put the little channel, or the video tag there. I did not start calling on you first, like until far into the adventure. It was like episode 8, 7 or 8. And you said something along the lines, I said, all right, let's just start with someone at random. Let's go with Dasha. And you were like, I knew you were going to call on me. As if I had done that always. I did not. Just letting you know. You started this.
I'm
It's
sorry.
your fault.
Are you saying that this is Dasha's fault?
Yes. Yes. I
Are
called on
you
Mike, I think,
as-
for the most part, every episode
I don't
first.
think the watchers are gonna.
I remember when this happened, and I think, and I probably misremembered, but I thought you had called on me first the previous week, and I was like, oh, okay, again, because I thought you usually try to switch it up, and so I made that comment and just, I guess, shot myself in the foot because then I had to
There were a
deal with
couple
that
episodes.
for the rest of the campaign.
There were a couple episodes where I forgot. And I went to like Randall or introduced the NPC first or something. But anyway,
I mean, they're
And-
NPCs. They're not people.
they're not. Yes, they're not.
They're not real.
They're not-
Christian, Boomy, the Monarch. You bow to no one, my friend.
Yeah, this is a weird kind of role for me. I don't usually kind of have that roar. I felt like Boomy was able to make some decisions or kind of had to come up with things to tell people because they would believe me or they would do kind of what I said, which I was not.
Yeah.
That's
The
so
bullywugs.
new to me. Yeah, so it felt like an extra sort of added power, but also very scary because I just wasn't sure what to say or do
Right.
at certain points, and I didn't want to say something and then have it be. I did a lot of looking at Randall when I was speaking as the monarch, and I was kind of just like, if I started talking and I saw his face, and I was like, okay, nope, Boomy doesn't say that. He's gonna say something else instead.
Oh. So, yeah, because you were the Monarch. You were crowned the Monarch after the carnival. And you basically, everywhere you went, everybody respected you, knelt to you. Any Fey creature had to do that, right? That's something
Yeah.
they had to do when they first meet you. So, even the hags, right? When you first met the hags, each one had to, like, begrudgingly bend the knee. There's a weird little rule that was in the book, and I'm glad that you won it. It added that little bit of depth, got you out of your comfort zone, especially the bullywugs, right? One king
Yeah.
to another. He wanted to talk to you. So,
And that's usually not something I would do in these type of games. I would never want to put myself in that situation where me
Be the
alone
talker.
can determine something,
yeah.
and it just ends up coming to bite us later or something like
Right.
that. And like I just also don't know enough about like the lore and things going on to even put some pieces together. So I really felt like Boomy also didn't know what he was doing
No, you
there
did a
and what
great
to
job.
say and who to so
You
that was
really
interesting.
you can't really mess things up because all you're doing is making the story more interesting.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. So it was fun. It was a cool. It was a different character, a different class. I've never played a cleric before, and I really feel like Boomy developed a friendship with Siggy, and
mhm.
it just felt like I was gonna stick with Siggy, and kind of felt like to protect Siggy
Right, and you
know.
got your secret back in
Yep.
the second domain, right? In
Yep.
Thither. So you got your secret back. You got your ability to tell a lie, and then you still were committed because, again, you met these friends. Siggy was
Yep.
still in her search for brother, so worked out.
Yep.
All right, so now I want to transition this conversation to kind of like the tone and the overall opinions of the adventure. Obviously, this adventure is marketed as the wacky, wild. It's the Feywild, so anything goes, and it's kind of crazy. But I'll be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know that was really the like. It's almost like if you were to look at the box of the game, like of a video game, and it looks kind of crazy, but really it's like most other adventures. This adventure is actually rather linear than I had initially thought when I did my skim read through when I first bought the book. Because when I first got the book, I looked through all this and I was like, okay, there's the carnival, the domains, and the castle. Obviously, you go from one to another, but in each, it seemed like you can kind of go wherever you'd like, but not really. Like if you start going out of order, like if you go to the hags' palaces or their hideouts or whatever they're, you kind of just get launched right into the next one. So I don't know. I don't know that this was as wacky and wild. I mean, there was some very funny things that happened in there. I mean, you had the mushrooms bathing in butter. That guy, the campestry. You had the owlbear chariot, and just there were some wacky things. But in terms of like a D&D module, I didn't see it as non-traditional. What were your thoughts of the overall adventure? Did it seem very different?
I think maybe them advertising this was going to be like some sort of.
You're a little low, Mike. I couldn't hear you. There you go.
You hear me?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I was just saying, I think them advertising this as like some kind of like non-combat game, maybe not like the best choice, because you would really have to go out of your way to somehow find a scenario in which you're not going to have any combat.
Yeah.
Like most things, I felt like naturally led to combat.
They did. And I really, when I run these modules, I try to thread that line of like, I want you all to have the shared experience that anyone who plays this module would have, right? I don't want to like change it so much where you're like, oh, I never did that, or I don't, that wasn't in the module, was it? I want you to have that shared experience, but some things I didn't want to try to change them too much, and they ran right into combats. I mean, the brigands, when you the Paragon brigands, when you first go into Hither, I mean, they basically come up to you and they say, "Give us some money, or else." And what are you gonna do? If you fail a persuasion check against them, they attack. That's what it says. So you have to be willing to give them the money to get past it. And I don't know about you, but like, name a D&D party that's okay with like bandits just coming up and being like, "Give us your taxes," and you're like, "Okay, I guess we got to do this." Like, it just doesn't happen. But anyway,
No.
yeah.
It was also like session 3 where I think each of us had like 5 to 10 goals.
Right.
We're like,
you don't have a
we're
lot
like
of
if I
gold,
give
yeah.
you this money, I am in a different dimension and poor.
To be fair, I don't think we ever bought anything, did we?
It's
We
We
did.
never used our
No.
money.
Yeah.
you don't
I
need money.
tried.
Yeah.
I
We
tried
could have
to
given
buy
it
a
to the bandits.
mercenary. Yeah,
Right.
those 10 gold pieces never got used. They
Right.
stayed in my inventory the whole time.
Yeah, because it's such a location centric mission. You don't need a lot of money. There's no town to go to. There's no like shopkeep that you're going to be going into. I mean, the only shopkeep was the Darklings that had the balloon, and you basically had to sell something, or you got to sell an organ or something to get something from them. So it wasn't really feasible for you to like play this like a traditional game. But that would be maybe the most non-traditional thing, is that they kind of limited you to this one location. What are your
I think
thoughts?
that those Darklings was a really interesting. I really liked that, like that way of like selling goods. My only issue with it was that it was too early. Like I think them be like they were there before we ever like I think actually we encountered them before we even fought Bev Lorna.
Right
That's
before
correct.
that.
Because
I think.
Boppy was the one who went in there, and so like before we really had anything bad happen, they were like, "Give me an important aspect of your life permanently for this small magic item." If that happened like the session before we were fighting Endolin, I would have literally carved out my kidney. And like, and so like, I would have given whatever aspect of myself. Like, and I actually thought that when we saw the Darklings, I was like, oh shit, are they gonna is Charm gonna be like, let's make a deal? But yeah, I think that the book put like having them introduce that early with that kind of like heavy weighted offer, like, I don't think there was a likelihood that we would have accepted it because there just wasn't enough.
You're too new to the area.
Yeah, there weren't enough stakes yet.
Yeah.
Established for us to actually be like, yeah, I can give up an important aspect of myself.
Yeah, the tone is at that point still very lighthearted. The carnival is obviously the most lighthearted time, although there were some dark times there too. I mean,
the guy got stabbed.
I was gonna say, I actually think that the Bullywogs was probably the most lighthearted. The carnival got fucked up real quick. There was a murderous clown. Like,
yeah. Yeah. I actually, to be honest with you, the tone of this game is what I did like that. I like how it starts off lighthearted, whimsical, funny, and then when you start meeting the hags, you realize that these hags are not only, I mean, they're funny. Each of them is like quirky and like a caricature of a hag, but it's like once you see what actual damage they can do, then I think the game changes tone. And when Boppy died, I think it changed the tone of the game for sure. It was, well, this is real. You know. By the way, death is not, and I didn't say this to anybody, but death is not possible for children in the game. The book is very explicit about this. Children cannot die in Prismere at all. So
interesting loophole for the Goblin Girl.
She's not dead.
Oh.
Yeah,
she never died.
But if she did die, she would have died as an old woman.
Oh, right.
Oh, that's
true.
Yeah. I see you, Jeremy Crawford.
Yeah, so that was something I was toying around from the beginning with the idea that if Siggy were to die, would I consider her to be a child? And I don't know. I never had to make the decision. I mean, I still personally think someone who's 16 is a child, obviously, and especially in modern day standards. But you know, I don't know about, as a player character in this game, if you would died, would I have in a way spared you? I don't know. Boppy, when you died though, there is a chart you roll on as to what could actually happen to you when you die, and we got petrification or whatever it was. Yeah. You were turned to stone. That was just fate deciding it. You could have been dead. And then we wouldn't have had that nice little reunion at the end. So
lucky Boppy.
He's a lucky man. Lucky Harangon. And then obviously, you know, that Witchlight Carnival, I've heard a lot of DMs say you could just run that as like a one shot or like with no stakes. Like you don't have to have the tie into Zybilna. You can just have, hey, we're going to the carnival. And then you find out that there's some little sinister secret behind what's going on there. Their hags are taking kids through the funhouse mirrors. And that's it. You just find out what happens. You stop that from happening again, you know, destroy the funhouse, destroy the mirror, and you're good to go. Like that could be its own one shot. And I would suggest if anybody wasn't sure about they want to play this whole thing, they want to test it out, I would go with that and see if you like the game first, right? It's a cool little like mini adventure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, going back to your previous like question about, you know, having it be non-combative, like I thought there was gonna be a bit more like puzzles or maybe riddles that we would have to solve. I figured that was kind of the vibe they were going for. Like I just thought that was going to be what happened. We were going to be trapped somewhere. We were going to have to solve some cryptic thing to get out of here, to do that. But I don't think we got as many. I feel like the closest I got was maybe the what was those 4 hatchets on the wall right before
the finale.
Yeah.
Even the most puzzling puzzle was still involving 4 decapitations.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So like I thought we were gonna have more of those type of situations
So
throughout the
yeah,
book.
puzzles and like riddles, not so much, but I will say that there were actually more role playing scenarios that if you came up with a clever solution, you could. So it really rewards more role playing and the player's ingenuity rather than being good at solving a riddle or a puzzle, like a something you'd actually like move around on a grid or something like that. None of that. It's more like you could have avoided, and you think you did sometimes, like the Cyclops in Yan. If you explain to the Cyclops what love is, he'll leave you alone. He doesn't understand the concept, that sort of stuff. The snail races and things like that. You didn't have to have combat in there, and when you win the snail race, you then have advantage on an animal handling check later. They did a lot of that sort of stuff where, like, if you had done something early in the game, you then could get a benefit later in the game. So there were things like that helped, but it was more like if you just cleverly role played, you bypass things. But I think D&D is that anyway, right? Like, I think advertising it is redundant. D&D is a game that you can do whatever you want. So like if you want to not fight, you probably could do it. It might cost you something, but you could probably do it. So I think that made players, not necessarily all of you, but in general, people that play this game, think differently. I've seen DMs respond to this on like Facebook groups and things like that, where it's like you then have a preconceived idea of how you should be doing things when you should just do what you feel is right.
I think for me, it also helped just with character creation. Like you telling us that beforehand, before we started playing and before we made our characters, that we might not need to fight. I feel like that gave me the freedom to make a character that was very whimsical, very innocent in a lot of ways, and very assuming of like the good nature of people and willing to talk and figure things out, and not take life so seriously. I don't think I've ever, at least on the channel, I've not played a character like that. I typically play more responsible, like Arel in the Supernatural 20. He's a very responsible, he's gonna like do the right thing, he'll fight if he needs to, he's like on the right path. I played like Iroviel before, who's like on a very dark path as well. But here, I definitely feel like it gave me the freedom to play a really funny and whimsical character.
All right, so I was wrong. It was good.
It was good for me. I don't know about other character creations, but
that's a good. I like that take on it though, because I didn't think about it because I'm obviously on the other side of the screen. I'm not thinking about the character, my character or anything like that. I didn't have a character, so that's a good insight. I like that. So okay, I could see the benefits from the player side of things for sure, knowing at least some expectation. But like Mike said, I mean, combat was not avoidable in some circumstances. I don't think it was intended to even be avoidable. The way it was written.
I mean, yeah, especially looking at the end, like how even like that ending, like of like getting through the palace for the most part. Yeah, you can avoid combat unless you, I guess, fight that rug, which just attacks you.
No, you could avoid that if you carried the flowers.
I know. I was like, I wonder what we were supposed to do. I actually looked that one up after the fact.
Yeah, if you carry the flowers, you're good. Yeah.
Yeah. But like even like the end, like there's a dragon like blocking like all the like there's a lot of obstacles that are like if you try to step for me, I am going to kill you.
Well, let me set the record straight on one thing, because in my finale prep session I talked about this. I don't know if anybody here watched it, but I'll just summarize something about it. So I thought that the adventure is a bit anticlimactic. I think that as it's written, you're supposed to go through the palace, defeat the Jabberwock, defeat the Kellic and Warduke and them. You're supposed to go through the castle, basically clear it out, or make deals to clear it out. And then once you get through, the hags, you would meet them eventually, but you would fight them, or if you found out how to solve the problem with the unicorn horn, you would then go and just touch Zybilna. And once it happens, it's instantaneous. It's supposed to happen immediately. So I was like, well, that kind of sucks, because like, what if you get into the castle and the hags are in a different location where they're supposed to be? You know where they're supposed to be in the book? They're supposed to be in that top tower right below, right above where Kellic is. And I thought, that's weird. Why is Kellic hanging out in there? Why are the hags just like one floor above him in that ruined chamber doing nothing? And I just thought it was weird. So I had it so that they went to get Boppy as a bargaining piece. And they came back hoping to have one final standoff with you where either they get you to just leave, they give you Boppy back, transform him back, and you all go home. You get your brother, you get your Boppy back, you get, the Monarch gets to go, you got your voice, you can go and figure out what happened. You tell the people that Zabilna's, she's fine, but she's, whatever, lie to them, and basically, but you give you gold or give you magic items, and then you just go home. That was what they were going to offer to you. But, that leads to a bigger battle at the end if you do that. Because then if, I take it most of you are good, and you're not going to want to do that. So you're going to have a fight. So I kind of set it up so that there was a big showdown. In hindsight, I probably would have liked to have maybe had the Jabberwock seek you out at some place or have you fight the Jabberwock separately, because it was a cluster at the end. And I hate when combat takes forever. So that would be my one big regret, was that. But once you touch Zabilna, it's instantaneous. She comes back to life. Story over. So I wanted to prolong that as long as possible. The way it works in the book is the unicorn horn is supposed to be in like one of 8 locations. You roll randomly or you pick. I picked the spot, but I had Rowan be the one who had it, instead of Sean, the librarian. So
I like that touch with Rowan where he had just decorated it with like stickers and glitter.
And he'd have no idea. And that's actually part of the story. Granny Nightshade has it. She was holding on to it. She was going to write a letter to her siblings telling them that she has misplaced it. She can't find it. And it got lost somewhere. There was another creature in her thing that took it and moved it. But I just replaced it with your brother. And so your brother had it with him traveling from place to place to place. And that's where it ended up. Okay, so let's jump to... This kind of ties into... It seems like we're talking about the module more critically here. Let's just talk about some things that you think might have, or ask questions for me, things that you might not have known. And I'll tell you, my biggest criticism with this adventure is actually the palace itself. I think the palace is not really laid out well, and this is something you'd never really see. But there's a whole floor past that door with the hatches that does nothing really to drive the story. It literally is just, there are more NPCs, there are more people that want things from you. They're like, hey, I want Zabilna's cloak, or hey, I want this thing. And it kind of just stalls the game. And there's no way to get to those places naturally. You have to go and find that secret, hatch door to get into the chamber. And so once you find that hatch door, you're going into the central tower. And you're really not going to go around anywhere else. It's also kind of dangerous. There's like some danger past it where you just like go underwater and you then can't get above the surface of the water. It's kind of freaky and scary, and you could get hurt. Yeah, there's more combats and stuff, but I don't think it adds much, and it's hard to read. There were so many times where I was going back and forth and like, room 31 leads to room 49C. Where's that? Okay. Oh wait, it's on the other map. Wait, why would they put this one on the other map? And then I go back and forth, and I get my eyes crossed trying to figure it out. That was my biggest complaint, is I feel like the castle could have been a little better. And isn't it weird that you kind of just could have walked in the barn door and not needed to go put the crown on the... I don't know. The castle itself kind of bothered me, but I tried to leave all of that out and not bring it to you, not present the confusion to you. But anything you thought was weird or something maybe you would criticize about the adventure?
Well, something I mentioned off stream before we started was there was no closure with the carnival itself. I feel like when we got sent in, there was this impression in my mind that we would have to come back eventually, and there would be some sort of resolution. And also with the Kenku that just got murdered, stabbed to death while we were there, that was causing mischief. I want to know what happened to the Kenku. I want to know what happened to the evil clown that murdered the Kenku. Was he in league with the hags? Was he just a very violent bodyguard for Mr. Witch and Mr. Light? What's next for the carnival? That all kind of got left unanswered. Thaco, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so the carnival piece gets kind of left behind after you leave. You don't really go back, although here's the background of the carnival. Mr. Witch and Mr. Light inherited the carnival many years ago. and the hags took over Prismeer, and the carnival was always a connection to Prismeer. So when the hags took over, they kind of strong-armed Witch and Light and said, we're going to use your carnival not as a gateway. You're not going to let people in anymore. We're going to come and steal things. We're going to steal people. We're going to steal children. We're going to steal items. Anything we want from the carnival, we're going to take. And those little minions, there's the Lornlings, the little quickling frogs, the Darklings, and the Sopigs, and what was the last one? I'm forgetting now. There was a third like henchman type minion, and they just were able to have access to the carnival and start causing mischief, basically. And that's how you find out about it, really. But no, the Mr. Witch and Mr. Light don't necessarily like the hags. Thaco, while he's pretty awful, he's like security, and he doesn't have much to do with the hags at all. Just he enforces the rules of the carnival, and the carnival rules were tweaked a bit, right? If you were stealing something, they steal something from you. That's the rules. So it was a little disconnected from the rest of the adventure, I will admit. Kettle Steam, she had found that something nefarious was happening and wanted to find out, but nobody would give her the time of day. So she was starting to cause mischief around the carnival, hoping that she'd get an audience with Mr. Witch and Light. But but you're supposed to see her maybe as like a villain at the beginning because she's just a troublemaker. And then you find out she's actually not a bad person, or in our case, Thaco brutally murdered her. So, anything else? Any other questions or things that you might have thought were strange about this adventure?
No, you hit on my biggest one, which was that final battle. I went in there like planning what are we gonna do, how to do that, and then it just kind of seemed like it was over.
I tell you what,
real
though,
quick.
you saved the day though, because you slowed down the hags with the Spirit Guardians.
Your guardians.
Yeah, I mean, that could have been the death of Amador had Granny Nightshade been able to actually reach his square. It would have been real bad for her. What'd you think about all the NPCs? There were a ton of NPCs in this adventure.
Was Amador supposed to be so
Andrew?
overtly sexual, or was that just Andrew?
Andrew put a spin. I will say this: all the NPCs put a spin on their characters, and no one spun their character more than CJ. Squirt is not a bad oil can. Okay, everybody, he's a good oil can. He's a loyal oil can. He loves the Getaway Gang in a very normal way. All right, but CJ had to.
Never felt that way.
It felt like the creepy uncle.
Yes, yes, that's what he did, right? But no, Amador is supposed to be like Zorro or like trying to think of another type of character where he's got a rapier, he's dashing, he uses his charisma, he's in love with the beautiful Pollinella. He has a bit of a, like I said, like a dashing, charming swashbuckler. So, Clapperclaw was perfect, mind of a child, sort of like, innocent, just wanted to get his better head. And obviously there's so many tie-ins to like Wizard of Oz. I mean, they're the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion, the Dandelion. And Rowan was Toto. Just ended up being perfect. And then there's obviously the Alice in Wonderland tie-ins with everything being, you get Shrink in one of the hag's rooms, you get all these weird creatures coming up to you asking for things. So it tied in, I think, the theme nicely.
Was Lemon originally an NPC, or did you come up with Lemon?
Mike, Boppy, how did this happen again? You
had me roll on a chart. I think it was because of the background I picked, like being a carnival hand.
The carnival hand. Mm-hmm.
And as a result, I ended up with Lemon.
That's right. Yes, it was a roll, and we've got Sprite. And so I just made the personality for Lemon, and I wanted her to have the voice of Audrey from Little Shop of Horrors, but that was pretty much all I had going into the first session, and she was just going to be like an annoying little sidekick on your shoulder. but she ended up being one of my favorite NPCs to run. I think she had a lot of growth. But I tell you what, though, if you're an inexperienced DM, and I know Mike and Randall, you run a lot of games. It's not fun to have like 5 or 6 NPCs with the D&D party. It's just annoying because you forget about all of them inevitably, right? And so when we had all these NPCs with us, I was like, I saw this happening. I knew it was gonna happen. I was like, I'm gonna get CJ to do this one and Stefano to do this one, and it takes a little bit off of me, and it was nice. You liked having them on too, right?
I think
Yeah.
that definitely was a good choice, both as like a DM, because I'm very familiar with that, especially like because they're all like lovable NPCs, with maybe one exception. But so like and I think any DM has an experience of like accidentally introducing or making an NPC like accidentally too likable, and then the party being like, no, you're gonna come with us now.
Yeah.
I can't, I genuinely don't know how many times it's happened. Where the party is just inexplicably fallen in love with a character that was meant to be completely innocuous.
Yep.
And so I think that was a great decision for you, because that would have made it harder. And I think it also made those arcs or those times with them feel better, because it's another it's not, it doesn't feel like an NPC in that moment. It feels like another character. Which also makes me question of like, if in the original story, like, are you supposed to have all of them with you in the final fight?
You are. You are. And in fact, the module doesn't necessarily tell you what to not to do or do, but it does mention a couple times like, and of course, Clapperclaw could join the party. Like it gives you that option at the end of his little reading or whatever, and so could tag along. And so like it could be like a Wizard of Oz where like you pick up the Scarecrow and he's with you. And then you pick up the Tin Man and he's with you. And then you pick up the Lion and he's with you. And you go through the whole journey with them, picking one up at a time. But you already had Lemon. We knew Rowan was coming in at some point. I was like, I can't run 5 or 6 NPCs. It's just not possible. Plus, Charmaine comes with you for a little bit. You could have taken Elkhorn. You could have taken Molliver. You could have taken, you could have taken so many people with you that are willing to go with you because they have something at the palace they want. You could show up with like a mini army in theory. And I didn't want to have to handle all of that on the stream,
Yeah, that's fair. And I think that also, it would detract from, I mean, I can't speak for everybody, but I mean, I think it would detract from my experience if, like, in that, like, climactic fight, if 60% of, like, of our side is not us. like I feel like it would detract from it, and at the very least make it like feel like less impactful, like if it was just you fighting yourself, which I also know you probably wouldn't enjoy, because I know I as a DM hate that. Like I don't really, for me, like it's not even like the power level, like I actually don't mind, because I'm like, all right, well, if you're gonna have an NPC, I can make this a little harder for you guys. But like when it gets to like an NPC's turn, I'm like, I don't want to fight myself. Like,
I know. I hate doing it even in like any scenario where I'm like, all right, so the goblin's gonna attack this NPC. I'll just roll this, and oh, it's a hit, and it just ends up being like everybody's like waiting. Okay.
It does. I like that you went into that voice, because it does genuinely feel like whenever my tone always changes, and I'm like, I feel like I'm like announcing bingo results on a cruise specifically for the elderly. And like it's just it is very like just muted once you get to that point in a combat.
We got a couple of things in the chat here. Mike and Randall, Wayne says he would love to see a game run by one of you. Interesting.
Well, Randall and I are starting a West Marches style game for a lot of people, some of whom are here on the channel. Um, I don't know in the future. I mean, Bobby's joining as a player. If, I wouldn't mind live streaming a game, I suppose.
Interesting. Interesting. And of course, I've mentioned this to all of you. We're going to get you back on the channel at some point. I know this adventure is over, but you know, you were all fantastic players, and I mean, I know all of you longer than the stream has been going on. So you know, we'll definitely get you back in for things, and it's always gonna be one shots and small arcs and other campaigns down the road. But yeah, last thing I want to talk about before we kind of wrap here is just the favorite moments here. I can start. I could definitely say I have two. I like I said, I combed through all of the footage trying to find stuff for that recap video leading up to the finale, and I find starting that tedious, but then as I went through, the hours flew by, and I was just like, I was laughing out loud by myself here in my basement, laughing out loud at some of the things that I forgot, and they were fantastic. And I'm gonna say one thing that I remembered, and I knew I was like, I'm finding that moment. Obviously, a funny moment. My mood is sledding was hilarious.
That was your fault, Bob. That was your typo.
My mood is sledding was gold. And when that entire scenario, I watched the whole thing straight through because I was like, I wanted to remember whether other moments. And oh my God, every single like minute, I found myself chuckling to myself and like laughing out loud. I couldn't control it. It was such a funny episode to watch back. And of course, I'm referring to the play in Motherhorn, where you all had to improv, and I threw lines at you as stage fright was throwing lines from the sides. You did, all of you, fantastic with that. Absolutely fantastic. And then another scene that really stuck out to me was the finale fight against Granny Nightshade. Watching that back, you really almost died. Like all of you, this could have been easily a TPK. Mike, Oscar was strapped to a chair for like 10 rounds. He was like unable to get rid of the mimic. Randall jumped and tried to Misty step. It was a mess. Christian, you went down. Lemon ended up rolling a hit and killed the pin cushion. Dash, I think you got out and finally got Elkhorn to help everybody. You freed Elkhorn, and that allowed you to carry out the bodies, and you met elsewhere. But that was such the team was pushed to the max, and you barely made it out. I thought that was really a cool episode to rewatch and kind of see the struggle, the tension that it was going through. So those are two of my favorite moments. There were so many. Anything stick out to all of you?
I just before going to the moments, I just have an opinion, a hot take on that. For whoever created the creatures that lurk in Granny Nightshade's bullshit treehouse, fuck you, because we painstakingly avoided every enemy, and the fucking chairs tried to kill us. Like, yep. How do you plan for the furniture to start attacking you? Like,
yep.
Like, we planned and planned. I think we did pretty good. And then when it was finally time to resolve it, it was like, all right, well, that cushion's a mouth now. So.
Yeah, mimics are always fun to throw into a game, no matter what shape they take. Anybody else? Or Randall, continue, because I don't know if you had something else to say, actually.
That was my hot take. I saw Mike unmuting as I was giving my hot take, so I'll let Mike go first.
Go ahead, Mike.
No, I mean, you were asking about favorite moments. I was just going to mention all I always confuse the first area with the frogs. I was a big fan of that. I thought that was a lot of fun.
The Les Mis Revolution?
Yes, that was probably my favorite arc of the whole campaign was the going through all that stuff with the frogs, which is very funny.
Yeah, those bullywugs, this is called the Soggy Court, and they had King Gullop the 19th, the 20th, the 21st, the 22nd. It just kept going up and up and up because they were just in constant political warfare. It was great to run. but my throat was killing me by the end of those sessions. Doing that like deep throated French accent, it was like, oh, oui, like
What kind of French accent, Bob?
the deep throaty
There you go.
French accent. But I mean, they're bullywugs. Come on, they got to have a gruff tone like that. Christian, Dasha, Randall.
I think for me, it was just all the moments where Boomy and Siggy would pick food off of the floor, and Quentin would be like, "Don't eat that. That's probably gonna poison you. You're gonna be dead." And we're like, "No, we're gonna eat it." And then we ate it, and something good happened, or nothing happened. Like we ate cookies off the forest floor, and Quentin was like, "You are definitely gonna die. You are idiots." And we were like, "No," and nothing happened. Nothing good, but nothing bad either. So
Right.
that was just my favorite bit.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say the exact same thing because there was definitely a moment where Boomy at one point was like, I don't know what we're doing. I don't know where we're going. Hey, I'm feel like I'm just as lost here trying to figure out where to go next. But there's one thing I do know, and it was if we found anything like that Bob allowed us to eat, we were definitely gonna do it.
Yeah, especially when we had the like powers to just like speak into each other's minds between Boomy, Siggy, and Lemon. That was iconic, that whole scene.
It was great. We were just trying to recreate that. We just kept trying to find things that would allow us to do that again the rest of the campaign.
You like mind melded. It was it was a
It was just a group chat that the older family members are excluded from.
right. Exactly. All right, and Randall or Christian, any other moments? Of course, Christian, we know your moment, becoming the monarch.
Yeah, of course. I was gonna say I really liked the carnival aspect of it. I loved all the little mini games.
Mm-hmm.
We played like the custard damage way back in like episode 1 or 2.
Yeah, custard damage. Yeah.
You know, that seemed really fun, and it was like you said, I thought the rest of the campaign was gonna take that tone, and then it didn't. And I was like, I thought that was really cool. But the carnival was fun. There's so many little mini games. I feel like there could have been so much more. We had to do the mermaid with the lights or help her performance.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was the dragonfly ride that kind of went crazy.
Went off the rails. Yeah.
Yeah, there were so many cool stuff. I feel like we didn't even explore the whole carnival.
You did not. There were I want to say like 5 or 6 rides that you didn't even go to. There was like the merry-go-round, which I think Eliwick Tumblestrom, she was the guitar player that wanted you to go through the mission. She like had a divination powers. She told you to go check out the merry-go-round, and you didn't. Like it wasn't like you were like, we're not going there. It was like a lot of stuff happened, and it kind of just got pushed to the side, and then you didn't go. There was a riddle there. I forget it now off the top of my head, but it was something to do with a stitch in time saves 9, something like that. You know that riddle? Everybody know that riddle?
Yeah, everybody knows that riddle.
Well, apparently there were some problems because in the DM's guide, that chat that I'm in on Facebook, when that module first came out, people were like, if you don't know English rhymes, you might not know this. It might not be relevant. If you speak a different language, it might not be relevant. So, but, you know, I think there were some things that you could have checked out, but it felt natural the time to go when you left the carnival. So, and yeah, I mean, there are so many moments. Anything else you want to share, let me know. But we had a blast, right, everyone? I mean, this was so much fun. I want to thank all of you. Randall, did you get to share? I don't know if you had something you wanted to throw in there, but
I mean, yeah, my favorite moment was actually kind of the same as Mike's. I loved the Bullywug arc, and I mean, I think my favorite moment as a player was that climax of literally using song to implant a new sovereign ruler, which I think was definitely my favorite moment, like favorite decision I made as a character throughout the campaign. But yeah, the Bullywug arc was absolutely amazing. I really loved that arc.
Yeah, Wayne in the chat's the carrot cake scene with Elmer back in the tower. And there was a scene
because that was a module, and I'm really glad you added that module in, because that was a really fun part of the game, like super early on, and
yes,
it really added to Hither so much, like adding those 2 different modules that you did early on, but especially the leaning tower. That was so good.
Yeah,
That
the
was
Leaning
the
Tower.
lemon in the bathtub scene, right?
Yeah. Everyone in the bathtub. Everyone
Yeah.
showed up for the going away party while Quentin was taking a shower, and
Yeah,
Siggy brought cake.
I will say this this adventure really encourages some bad behavior. Don't walk in on people in the bathroom. Don't eat food on plates in the forest. Don't take drugs before knowing what they do. Like
Only after you
terrible
know what they do.
encouragement
Yeah.
for child characters.
Right. Yes. Well, we had so many great moments, and I'm, as I've done the channel now for the last 2 years, I'm really thankful that we've recorded these because, I mean, we have a blast in any campaign you play in, right? It's D&D. You always will share those moments with the people that you're with, but we have ours recorded, and it's there for ever and ever.
Our children one day, our grandchildren will go back and see.
Yeah, and it's just fun to, like, I don't know, share it with more than the group, and we can always revisit these times rather than just reminisce about it. Like, it's there, and did that really happen? Yeah, we did do that, and it's fun to have it, almost like a piece of history in a way, that it's just there. So, thank you, everybody. I want to say thank you one more time to you all, Mike, Dasha, Randall, Christian. I had a blast running this game for you. I know for sure we'll have more of you on the channel. Thank you for everyone watching at home. I mean, we had, this was a whole year. It's a big commitment to watch these games. I mean, I like watching live stream games. It's not for everybody, but I think that for the people who like it, it's a fun way to experience the game. Maybe see a playthrough before you run it. Things like that. And I do appreciate you sticking with us throughout the adventure. It was a lot of fun to talk with you all in the chat. There's going to be a lot more to come here on the channel. We have, the end of the year coming soon. I actually just posted the entire schedule for December on social media, on Discord, Facebook, and Instagram. I'm going to start doing that more often, a full month schedule ahead of the month. That way people can know where the episodes are landing. Also, with December being such a kind of hectic holiday month where you've got a lot of schedule changes, I wanted it to be out there. We've got Keep on the Borderlands going to every week on Wednesdays in the new year, in January. We've got Spelljammer moving into this spot. That's the game CJ's running. So he's going to be taking over the Tuesday spot. We are playing this week, though, tomorrow. Spelljammer runs tomorrow. And my Patreon game is running. We filled up. The entire Patreon game is now full. We have 5 out of 5 players. We're going to be running the Red Hand of Doom, which is an adventure I've always wanted to run. So more to come on that. I might be doing some videos on just the Red Hand of Doom, kind of recorded videos, not a live play, just my take on the adventure because it's such a classic 3rd edition module. So stay tuned for all that. And the final announcement I want to say is December 27th. I'm going to be having a State of the Channel. I figured the president could do it. Why can't I do it? So the State of the Channel is going to be on the 27th. I do plan on having a little bit of a reveal that night. So stay tuned for that. And I'm going to talk about the year in total and what to look forward to in the new year. But it's going to be big. I'm excited. I'm very excited, actually. I haven't been as excited for games as in a while. These finales get you ramped up, So anyway, thank you for watching, and check out the links down below. Again, thank you, everybody, for watching, and we will see you all on the tabletop. Have a great night.
Bye,
Good night.
everybody.
Bye.
All right.